Once there was a city. Every morning and every evening the buses and subways were full to the point of suffocation with people who worked in the center and lived at the edges. A young man named George was one of these people. Every morning he rode the number 85 bus into the city. Every night he rode it home. One evening he was standing in the doorway of the overcrowded bus. An old, frail-looking woman attempted to enter just as the door began to close. George reached down and pulled her safely on board just as the door closed, and for the remainder of the trip he sheltered her small body with his larger one from the shifting, swaying mass of people as the number 85 lurched across the city. He was conscious of her looking at him, but pretended not to notice, as people often do in public situations. Reaching his stop, both he and the old woman left the bus. He walked away from her quickly, as if embarrassed by his casual kindness. George's apartment was several blocks from the bus stop. As he passed a bench near the bus stop, he was amazed to see her sitting there, gesturing for him to come sit next to her. He wondered how she could have reached this point before he did. He ignored her, though, and walked on more quickly. 100 meters further, he passed another bench. She was there, smiling, waiting for him. He had not seen her even rise from the last one, certainly not walk past. This time she spoke. "George, sit with an old woman for a moment?" He stopped. He was amazed. "You know my name?" "Yes." "How?" "It's not important. I have something for you. Please sit." This time her voice conveyed a certain authority. He sat uneasily next to her. She said, "I want to give you something that may or may not make your life better. It's one wish. Please make it count. Tomorrow I will be sitting here when you walk past on your way to work. Tell me what your wish is then, and it will become true. Between now and then, I want you to think about this wish, though. Be careful. I won't be around after tomorrow to reverse things if you make the wrong one." George looked at her. He was thinking, this is the 21st century. Old women from the bus did not grant wishes. But they didn't intuit your name and move about invisibly either. He nodded. He said, "Okay, why not?" She smiled. George rose and walked home, more slowly now. The next morning, George left his apartment to catch the bus. He was doubtful the old woman would be waiting for him, and increasingly with the passage of time, beginning to feel a bit silly about even taking her seriously. But he had thought, and finally come to a decision, what he would wish for, just in case. She was there, wearing the same flowered dress and shawl from the day before. "Good morning," she said. She handed him a cup of coffee. "2 sugars, no cream, just as you like it?" He thanked her. "How did you know?" he said. "Oh, never mind. Okay. Yes, I have my wish." She nodded. Watching him take the first sip of coffee, he took a long breath, and he spoke. "Okay, at first I wanted the world's most beautiful woman to love me hopelessly and completely. Then I realized it didn't matter if she loved me like this, because every man we met would want her, and he would spoil our lives with his scheming and intrigues to be there and try and take her from me. I would regret this wish ultimately. We would both be miserable." The old woman nodded, looking pleased. "Then I wanted to be very, very wealthy. I wanted cars, homes everywhere, the whole package. As I thought about that, I realized I would lose all that I have now. Before long, it wouldn't be possible for me to sit with the friends that I've known forever, drink cheap beer and solve the world's problems, to make bad jokes and to really relax. money would come between us. I would lose them all. I would lose more than I would gain. Before long, all my friends would also have to be rich. And then all we would talk about is money. Endless variations on the money we have, ways to get more, ways to keep what we have and spend more, the things we bought with our money, the things we wish we could buy with our money. George sighed. I just don't think I could take this for the rest of my life. I think I would miss my old life. The old woman nodded, looking more pleased. So then, George, what is it you do want? Okay, this is it. I want, whenever I get on the bus, to have an empty seat waiting for me. No matter how crowded the bus is, I want my seat to be there. I never want to stand in the doorway again. Never. George paused. That's it. Can you do it? The old woman looked past him. George, I want you to imagine something. I want you to imagine that you're traveling through a place you don't recognize. You're lost. You're hoping to find some place that you do know, some place that feels like home. You don't know why you're traveling, but you hope that when you find this place, you will learn all the answers. A little kindness goes a long way towards making the trip less difficult. She smiled. A sense of direction helps, too. She took his empty cup. You'd best hurry, George. I think I hear your bus. The number 85 was roaring around the corner, pushing black fumes into the morning sky. George ran for the bus stop. He didn't have time to look back or even say goodbye to the old woman. He barely made it to the bus before the doors closed. It was packed with humanity as usual, some barely awake. Lunches, purses, and briefcases at their feet. In the rush to get to the bus on time, he'd forgotten his wish, but there, completely out of place in this press of human flesh, was a seat, empty. He moved towards it, casually, wondering if one of the other passengers would see it, rush forward, but they didn't. They didn't even appear to see it at all. He settled in his seat. He looked out the window, wondering if his wish also covered subways. It occurred to him at that moment that life could be incredibly sweet for the smallest of reasons. Waptabuna.